get themselves, a group of players that are definitely a good mish of guys who can complement each other while still being somewhat of an eccentric, unique lineup. So let's get right into it. So Darko Rajakovic, Jakob Pertl, Dennis Schroeder, Jalen McDaniels, who I actually think could be one of the bargain bin signings of this offseason. And they drafted my college, I guess I didn't have class with him, but we went to the same college. Grady Dick, Kansas. Nick Nurse is gone. Fred VanVleet's gone. Joe Wieskamp is gone. And Wieskamp. And Delano Banton is also gone. So I think the big question we're all still sitting here is that, they're kind of in limbo. And Pascal Siakam doesn't want to be traded, but it seems like the OG Anunoby trade rumors have kind of diminished, but they could still come back up. And Dennis Schroeder, I don't think was that bad of a signing. I think this is Scottie Barnes' year, personally. And when we look at, I think the biggest guy to look at this offseason, if we're going to recap it, is Darko. New coach Darko. Okay? This is a guy who, when he started out, he got Sam Presti is low-key the guy who, discovered him. And when Sam Presti was with the Spurs. So, with that being said, I think what's the craziest thing is Presti brought Rajakovic from Europe to America, giving his first job in the D League at the time. Okay, this is how far back we're going with this. Before it was called the G League. And then this has led to him, going to an assistant coach, and he was last with Taylor Jenkins' staff in Memphis, and now Rajakovic is Nick Nurse's successor. Rajakovic is just the second European to become an NBA coach following Igor Koskov, who is the current head assistant coach for the Atlanta Hawks. He was with Brooklyn the year before that and Dallas before that. And it's going to be interesting because he's the type of guy who's kind of, figured out how to create his own path. We've seen Greg Popovich forge his own path. Joe Mazzulla, Nick Nurse, okay? There's a bunch of guys who have just forged their own path. And Rajakovic, a guy who's from Belgrade, Serbia, which is where my grandfather grew up. My grandfather's from Yugoslavia, or was. He's fucking dead. He's been dead for 52 years. But I think what we know is this is going to be a guy who's going to be able to work in one-on-one settings with Scottie Barnes and the rest of the guys. Be able to, to work with players individually, getting them to buy into what he's teaching is going to be one of the reasons why I do have belief in this was a really good hiring by the Raptors. And, we're hearing literally everybody, there's, I think he's going to be great. And I think this is the biggest win of the offseason for them. Let me hear you guys' stats. I definitely, looking at the rest of the roster, do I admit there's some questions around, some of the roster spots? Yes. Okay. If we look at the current Raptors roster as we wrap this video up, I think it's definitely intriguing to see that going into camp right now, there is an interesting mix of guys that they have. They have 18 guys on the roster right now. Pascal Siakam, Jakob Pertl, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Chris Boucher, Scottie Barnes, Thaddeus Young, Otto Porter, Grady Dick, Jalen McDaniels, Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn, Garrett Temple, who they recently signed, which I think was a great 3-and-D signing with some veteran culture, Jeff Dalton, Christian Koloku. They got Mohamedou Gay, right? Mohamedou Gay, right? I don't know. There's two. And Kevin Obanor on exhibit deals. I don't expect them to be on the roster. And then they got Javon Freeman-Liberty, Ron Harper Jr., and Marquise Noel on two-ways. Okay, so all the two-way spots are filled. I doubt Gay and Obanor are going to be on the actual roster. They're probably just free, they're just probably just for the G League, you get the affiliation. And then you get yourself over here, probably one more guy who's probably not going to be on the roster. And if I had to say who that was going to be, because they already cut our guy, Joe Wisekamp. So for me, I think you're looking at this and you're like, okay, well, this gets interesting a bit. Who those last two guys could be, because for me, I'm thinking, yeah, it just got hard. Could be Malachi Flynn, could be Otto Porter, could be got traded. They'll probably trade one of the vets, honestly.